Hello and welcome. In today's video, we are driving into the growing and powerful partnership between two of the most world influential nations, India and Russia. From defense and energy to space and trade, this strategic alliance is shaping the future of global politics. So, without any further delay, let's get started. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the historical background between these two countries, the areas of cooperation between India and Russia, India and Russia relations significance, challenges between these two countries, and then comes the way forward. Let's talk about Russia's and India's historical background. India and Russia have a unique and privileged strategic relationship that has stood the test of time and geopolitical shifts. Based on historical ties and mutual trust, this relationship have evolved from Indo-Soviet friendship during the Cold War to an engagement that includes defense, energy, trade, technology and geopolitical cooperation. Since 1947, India and Russia have maintained cordial relations. As both countries navigate an increasingly complex global order, this partnership remains a critical component of their respective foreign policies with new challenges and opportunities. Russia remains India's most accommodating partner in high tech defense and oil supplies. Through this partnership, India prevents Russia's complete pivot to China, ensures stability in global energy markets, and maintains a moderate voice in emerging power blocks like BRICS. The India Russia relations began during the Soviet era when the USSR and India established close political, economic, and military ties. Russia has been a long standing and strong partner for India. The development of India Russia relations have been critical pillars of India's foreign policy. Now let's discuss about India's and Russia's historical background in different eras. First comes the Cold War era, 1950 to 1991. Soviet support for India on key issues like Kashmir and Goa's liberation reflected shared strategic interests. In 1971, Treaty of Peace, Friendship and Cooperation was pivotal during the Bangladesh Liberation War. Next comes the post Soviet adjustment era, 1991 to 2000. Following the Soviet Union's dissolution, India and Russia recalibrated their relationships to sustain defense and strategic ties. Next comes the strategic partnerships. Since the 2000 signing of the declaration on the India Russia strategic partnership, bilateral ties have significantly strengthened across various sectors, including politics, security, defense, trade, science, technology, culture, and people to people connections. In 2010, this partnership was elevated to a special and privileged strategic partnership. Several institutional dialogue mechanisms have been established to facilitate ongoing interactions and cooperations at both political and official levels. Next points to discuss in the historical background are Treaty of Friendship. The Treaty of Friendship states that the Soviet Union helped India in 1971 war. In 1971, India and Soviet Union signed the Indo-Soviet Treaty of Peace, Friendship and Cooperation, a watershed movement in their alliance. Next comes Annual Summit. The India Russia Annual Summit process was initiated by President Putin during his visit to India in October 2000. Recently, the 22nd India Russia Annual Summit was held in Moscow to solidify the strategic partnership between the two nations, particularly in light of the ongoing geopolitical tensions. Next comes 2 plus 2 dialogue. In December 2021, the first 2 plus 2 dialogue featuring the foreign and defense ministers from both the countries added a new dimension to bilateral cooperation and took place alongside the annual summit. Now that we have covered the historical background between the two countries, now let's talk about the areas of cooperation that are existing now. The first area is energy security. India has made significant investments in Russia, with state owned firms investing $16 billion so far. Russia is also an important partner for India in the peaceful use of nuclear energy. The projects involved the Kundankulam nuclear power plant is a flagship project between India and Russia. Investment in Shakhalin. The Shakhalin 1 asset purchased for $331 million in 2001 has generated $4.5 billion in revenue over the years, making it one of the India's most profitable energy equity investments abroad. The recent developments between the countries involve India and Russia signed the action plan for prioritizing and implementing cooperation areas in the nuclear field. The two countries intend to develop a project for six Russian designed nuclear power units at new site in India. Now let's talk about science and technology between the two countries. India and Russia have a long history of cooperation in the field of science and technology. Today, India and Russia collaborate in basic sciences, material sciences, mathematics, and cutting edge fields such as India's manned space flight program Gaganyaan, nanotechnologies, and quantum computing. In the field of space, Russia and India have a long standing space cooperation history, including the launch of India's first satellites Aryabhatta and Bhaskara 1 by Soviet Union and the 1988 launch of India's IRS-1A remote sensing satellite by Russia. Currently, the two countries are cooperating closely under India's first human space flight program Gaganyaan. In STI cooperations, the new roadmap for bilateral STI cooperations has been developed and agreed upon by both sides to replace the erstwhile ILTP cooperation program. It focuses on new engagements to promote co innovation and exchanges and will be in force for the next 5 years. Cooperation during COVID 19. India and Russia closely cooperate in vaccine production. In 2021, Sputnik V became the first foreign made vaccine approval for emergency use in India. With this, I also wish to add up the partnerships on GLONASS satellite navigation demonstrate high-tech synergy. In 2024, India and Russia renewed commitments to cooperate on advanced space research including lunar and human space missions. Now let's discuss about the other areas of cooperation. Next is economic diversification beyond energy. Economic ties now focus on technology, agriculture, and manufacturing, reducing dependency on oil and fostering mutual growth. The rupee ruble trade mechanism and FTA negotiations with Eurasian Economic Union reflect this shift. Exports to Russian grow Exports to Russian grew by 42.7% in 2024 with pharmaceuticals and machinery leading the feat. Next comes connectivity to reshape global trade. India Russia connectivity projects like International North South Transport Corridor and Chennai Vladivostok Corridor bypass traditional routes, reducing dependency on volatile maritime choke points. These routes enhance logical, logistical efficiency and reduce trade time. INSTC cut shipping time by 40%, while the Chennai Vladivostok corridor reduces transit days from 40 to 24, boosting bilateral trade efficiency. Now that we have covered the existing tie ups with them, now let's talk about the significance of these tie ups. First important point is strategic partnership. Improved India Russia relations give India a stronger bargaining position in negotiation with Western powers. It also allows India to strategically balance and align with the powers based on its national interest. Next important point is defense cooperation. India relies heavily on Russia for defense, with Russia made military equipment accounting for more than 60% of its total. Third important point is geopolitical aspect. Russia supports India's demand for the permanent seat on the UN Security Council and its position on the Kashmir issue. Russia can help diffuse rising tensions with China. The fourth important point is economic and trade. Both countries focus on sectors such as pharmaceuticals, machinery, oil, precious metals, and agriculture. They aim to increase bilateral trade to $100 billion by 2030, emphasizing the economic significance of their relationship. The next point is cultural and historical ties. India and Russia have cultural, educational, and historical ties that foster people to people interactions and mutual goodwill. Now, let's talk about the challenges faced by India during its relation with Russia. The first challenge is balancing ties with the West and Russia. India's growing ties with the US and European Union, especially through platforms like Quad and trade agreements negotiation with the EU and UK, complicates its relationship with Russia. Western pressure on India to align with sanctions against Russia puts its strategic autonomy at stake. Despite Western scrutiny, Russia was India's largest oil supplier in 2023. US officials have expressed concerns over India's significant purchases of Russian energy supplies, even warning of potential consequences, though they clarified that they would not impose red lines on India's oil imports. Next challenge faced is managing the trade deficit. India's trade with Russia is heavily skewed, with imports vastly outpacing exports, leading to a significant trade imbalance. Limited diversification of exports compounds the issue. In the financial year 2023-24, India's exports to Russia stood by $4.26 billion, while imports reached $61.44 billion, resulting in a trade deficit of $57.18 billion. Pharmaceutical exports, though up by 42.7%, remain insufficient to bridge the gap. The third challenge is financial and logistical challenge. Western sanctions on Russia complicate financial transactions, investments, and logistics for India Russia trade, increasing cost and uncertainty. Mechanisms like the rupee ruble trade face implementation challenges. The Vostro account system was created to facilitate trade in local currencies, but its adoption has been slow due to reluctance from private banks fearing secondary sanctions. Our next major issue is navigating Russia China proximity. Russia's growing alignment with China, particularly in the Arctic and energy projects, presents strategic dilemmas for India. China's expanding influence in Russia's Far East also impacts India's connectivity ambitions. Russia China trade exceeded $200 billion in 2023 with major Arctic investments, while India operationalized the Chennai Vladivostok corridor. China's involvement in the Northern Sea route could limit India's access. Our next issue is Ukraine Russia conflict. The ongoing Russia Ukraine conflict has put India in a diplomatic bind. India has come under a fire for failing to condemn the invasion while continuing to cooperate with Moscow on energy and economic issues. The last and most important issue is geopolitical uncertainty in Central Asia. India's strategic initiatives such as INSTC depends on stable connectivity through Central Asia, a region getting recently influenced heavily by Chinese presence. Political instability in these states complicates India's outreach. For instance, INSTC trade volumes face delays due to Iran's internal disruptions and geopolitical tensions in Kazakhstan, a key transit country for this corridor. Now let's talk about the way forward so that the relation won't be disturbed, but we have to keep an end to the challenges. The first way forward is balancing the dynamics. Enhance defense collaborations. Continue the strategic defense partnership with a focus on modernizing the diversifying the defense collaboration. The two countries have been discussing how they can cooperate in using India as the production base for exporting the third countries' Russian origin equipment and services. For instance, India and Russia have formed a joint venture for production of BrahMos missile. Next is facilitating economic engagement. Both countries should focus on diversifying and expanding their economic relations. This includes exploring new sectors for collaboration, increasing trade volumes, and encouraging investments. Both countries should work together, reducing trade barriers and simplifying trade processes, enhance economic collaborations by creating a conducive environment for businesses from both the countries to operate smoothly. Both sides need to resort to a rupee ruble mechanism to safeguard bilateral trade from the impact of Western sanctions. Next is balancing global dynamics. Coordinate closely in multilateral forums such as BRICS and the SCO. Collaborate on global issues, advocate for shared values and principles, and work together to address common challenges on the international stage. Strengthen institutional mechanisms for regular dialogue and collaboration. This includes enhancing the effectiveness of existing agreements and creating new platforms for engagement at various levels, from government officials to business leaders. Next is forging technological cooperation, innovation, and technological cooperation. Foster collaboration in emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, space exploration, cybersecurity, and renewable energy. Joint research and development initiatives can lead to technological advancements beneficial to both the countries. Energy security. Explore opportunities to cooperation in the energy sector, including joint ventures in oil and gas exploration, renewable energy, development of energy infrastructure projects. Addressing energy security concerns can be mutually beneficial. Next is promoting cultural connectivity. Leverage the popularity of yoga in Russia to enhance cultural diplomacy. Promote cultural events, language education, and exchanges to deepen the understanding of each other's culture. Engage in public diplomacy efforts to create awareness and understanding of the bilateral relationship among the citizens to both the countries. Utilize media, social platforms, and cultural events to promote positive narratives. Finally, I wish to conclude this with the India Russia relationship is a cornerstone of India's strategic foreign policy amid shifting global order. While the partnership continues to thrive in areas like defense, energy, and multilateral diplomacy, challenges such as trade imbalances, logistical hurdles, and Russia's growing proximity to China require careful navigation. By diversifying economic ties, enhancing connectivity, and promoting joint ventures in emerging sectors, India can ensure that its relationship with Russia remains robust and contributes positively to global diplomacy. As we look ahead, let's take inspiration from this powerful relationship and remember that in our own lives, as in the international diplomacy, it's a collaboration, trust, and understanding that truly create lasting change. Thank you for watching. If you are inspired by the potential of the global unity, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how you think about partnership like these can impact the future. We all have a part to play in the building a better world.